Welcome to my channel. I still remain your host, Oby Udeze. Today, from this book, The Healing of the Inner Man, we'll be treating a wonderful topic titled, Building a Valuable Hiding Place in Our Soul. To build is to make something stand without falling or shaking. The soul is the material aspect or essence of the human being. It is that which confirms individuality and humanity, often considered to be synonymous with the mind or the self. Our soul needs to be strengthened to bring healing of the inner man. Man consists of body, soul, and spirit. Our material bodies are evident, but our soul and spirit are less distinguishable. There must be relationship if healing of the inner man must come true. There is a need for a building in our soul to make it very valuable as a hiding place, to enable the healing of the inner man. We need to start the journey of learning how to abide. We should be mindful of what grows up in our souls if we want the healing of our inner mind. We do not have to be casual about the material aspect of our life, which is the soul. Let us make it valuable and preserve it by the candlestick, which is the light of God's word. We should know that the soul of man needs the light of God's word to be preserved. We should make effort in putting light into our souls, as it is only the light in our souls that can introduce our value. Remember that light is God's economy that introduces both his life and destiny to men. The word meditation is to think upon something for a very long time, just to understand better and get inspiration. There is need to put light in our soul. Many people's souls are dark because they have not been able to ignite the light of God's word in their soul through meditation. It is the intensity of light in the soul of man that will make it valuable. We know that the soul is the material part of man's spirit, and it is only through it that man can relate with the earth. Except the light of God's word in our souls are ignited, we will never be able to stand before God. There is need to ignite the light of God's word in our soul if there is any hunger in us to see whatever God is showing us. We need to get ourselves involved in what we call visionary meditation. When our candlestick is ignited automatically over time, our souls enlightens our eyes. There are spirits whose job is to keep revealing what our eyes sees. We should not separate ourselves from such spirits. The moment our souls are adequately and sufficiently ignited, we remain indestructible. Men die when there is no light in their candlestick. There is something called intrinsic nature. This intrinsic nature can only be introduced by the candlestick in our souls. Our body is protected by the light of God's word in our soul. There is need to avoid darkness in our soul, as the humiliation will bring eternal torture. Meditation is the highest activity that connects man with God, because God can only identify with what his light can get in a soul of a man. In meditation, a powerful light is passed from the spirit of man to his soul. So the moment our candlestick is ignited, our destinies are declared. It is not in the will of God to protect dark souls. We should bear in mind that souls that are ignited will always bear fruit. Many people believe in the lie that God prospers men. No, no, no. You need to have me tell you that it is what the light of God's word makes out of you that determines if you will prosper or remain poor. Souls that are ignited enables you to multiply, just like Jesus was able to multiply fishes and bread, because the soul of Jesus was ignited with the living light of the incarnate Christ. It is the level of light in our soul that determines the kind of fruit we bear. The soul connects the spirit to the body. Man, as we know, is made up of spirit, soul, and body, which is to say, a spirit having a soul and dwelling in a body. When man pays enough attention to the transformation of their soul, they are separated and becomes God. Moses was separated as a result of soul value brought about by transformation. For 80 biological years, Moses was solely dedicated in enhancing his soul change. That predominance of soul transformation exercise made Moses stand out, separated, and became a god. All we need to do is to give our soul the relevant light of God it needs, just like Moses allowed the Spirit of the Lord to ignite his soul and make him phenomenal. Those whose souls are transformed becomes very rich in value. The pivot of destiny is the soul. A lot happens in the soul. Dominion can only be established when due attention is paid to our soul. Having dominion is being in full control of what happens around you. The soul needs more light to enable dominion. When soul is enlightened, it is preserved. It is only enlightened soul that can have dominion as a result of its rich value. When the soul is rich, it stands before God. Souls that are enlightened will surely take their place in God. Taking your place in God is what is called having dominion. When one has dominion, he stands before God. Standing before God is a sign that such soul is not dark, because all whose souls are dark cannot stand before God. In fact, the moment our soul is dark, we are completely lost. When our eyes of understanding is blinded by Satan, the end is separation from God, which is being lost. You will agree with me that the only thing that represents God is the intensity of light in our soul. God cares about such light, as he will not preserve any soul that is shrouded in darkness. We cannot afford to be separated from God as a result of the darkness in our souls. It is precarious to allow darkness in our soul, because it will deny us access into God's eternal presence. The light of God's revelation shields and make our dominion prevail over time and seasons. The absence of this light brings darkness and makes one a slave to Satan. The onslaught of darkness cannot be put out through prayer. It is the enlightenment of our soul that preachers will depend on to bring deliverance. Future is very far from those whose souls are shrouded in darkness. Light is power. We all know that the light of Christ immortalized the man Jesus, so we should be careful about the light we identify with. We should do nothing with light that is grassy and valueless. In fact, any light that is in darkness cannot identify with God. Anyone whose soul is dark will never stand before God. We need light in our soul to enable us have passage into God's presence. We should not allow darkness in our heart, because corrupt men are doomed. The moment you allow your soul to be corrupted, immediately such soul is made subject to destruction. Souls that are destroyed are not healthy and must need healing. It is this healing that improves the value of our inner man. Such healing can only come through soul enlightenment. Always know that you are as powerful as your usefulness. It was Christ's enlightenment upon the man Jesus that made it possible for Jesus to be at the right hand of the Majesty on high. God is interested in what we are becoming more than what we are doing. This has always been the problem of man, paying attention to what we do more than our change through enlightenment. It is not possible for unenlightened soul to be in God's presence. Spiritual light is one treasure we cannot trifle with. A great treasure that makes men gods, gives men dominion, and finally gives men place in God. The awesomeness of spiritual light cannot be told only in one chapter. The ability of this light produces an awesome value. This light brings healing to our inner man. When there is darkness in the inner man, it shows the absence of this spiritual light. The light enlightens the soul. Light is more important than ordinary prayer. Light is the only thing that gives men place in God. Like Moses, the place he has in God was given to him through the enlightenment of his soul by the Spirit of the Lord. This kind of enlightenment gives men a fantastic opportunity to share destiny with God. Anybody who hates light definitely is in love with darkness. We have come to today's episode from this book, The Healing of the Inner Man. Thank you for always coming around my channel. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your sharing. Thank you so much. I will see you same time next week when we will treat on a wonderful topic titled Wounds Are Necessary. Bye.